Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about the topic of pseudoscience. It's a topic we had gone over in class, and I'm going to provide a little more detail and insight on the topic and show some examples about what it is. So what is pseudoscience? And pseudoscience is defined as any various methods, theories, or systems considered having no scientific basis. And the word pseudo itself means fake, so put together it means fake science. Next is the history of pseudoscience, and pseudoscience was first used in 1844 in the Northern Journal of Medicine and was used for a phenomenon that was claimed to be scientific but was not supported by any experimental evidence. An example of pseudoscience is one that we've covered in class, and it's the topic of astrology, and that's described as the study that assumes and attempts to interpret the influence of the heavenly bodies on human affairs. This picture shows an example of astrology. It's basically similar to the one we had gone over in class, how your astrological sign defines your behaviors, and that's one form of pseudoscience. Another well-known example of a pseudoscience would be phrenology, and phrenology is basically the measurements of the human skull and how different parts of the brain determine your functions or your modules. So here's an example of phrenology, and it depicts a skull, and on the skull it's showing that a certain character trait is being indicated depending on where it is on the skull itself. And a third form of pseudoscience would be crop circles, and a crop circle is usually a formation in a pattern created by flattening a crop, and this term was first introduced in the early 1980s by Colin Andrews. And here I have a picture depicting a crop circle, and this is a really well-known pseudoscience in astronomy, basically because many believe that crop circles are usually caused by aliens or UFOs or other extraterrestrial forms. So pseudoscience and science differ from one another basically because science is the study of the natural world based on facts through experiments or observations, while pseudoscience is the opposite of it. And although science and pseudoscience differ between each other in many different ways, I have three main important differences that can distinguish between the two. So the first difference is observation and experimentation, and science itself uses careful observation and experimentation to confirm or reject the hypothesis, whereas pseudoscience only looks for evidence to support it with little or no experimentation. And here's a picture that is depicting the process of observation and experimentation. Basically, it starts with a theory and then leads to a prediction, followed by an experiment and an observation back to the theory itself. A second difference between pseudoscience and science would be vocabulary. Science uses vocabulary that is well defined, whereas pseudoscience usually uses invented terms that are vague and only apply to one specific area. And here I have a picture of pseudoscience and vocabulary, and basically it's just a picture of a miracle cure and how it works and it's guaranteed, although there's really no evidence that supports it or backs it up. And a third and final difference between pseudoscience and science is peer review. Most scientific investigations are peer reviewed by other scientists, whereas pseudoscience, there's typically no peer review in the process. Although pseudoscience is mainly criticized for being fake, there are some pros to pseudoscience. Basically, one pro is that it engages people to discuss science and what is real and what is not real. So, of course, pseudoscience is known to have many cons, and some of the cons are that none of it is genuine and it's all fake, and that there's no experimentation or any process that goes through with it. So what pseudoscience reveals about science is that there is no such thing as a scientific method, and that science is based on content, not structure, and that it is a body of observation and theories capable of verification. So why investigate pseudoscience? Basically, it can help us teach relevant science concepts and clarify what science is and is not, and it engages students in scientific inquiry and scientific thinking.